the number one Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 253 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. Today, we're going to be talking with Jake Alexander. Some of you have probably listened to the podcast with Jake before. He works with me here in my office. But what we're going to be chatting today is actually something a little bit different. Jake's actually created a WhatsApp, I suppose, integration called Tukan.io, which basically allows unilateral, I suppose, translation from Spanish to English and English to Spanish, which is probably pretty useful for a lot of you guys out there that, maybe might be expats that, that can't speak Spanish or don't understand it, always, especially when we get to technical terms, construction, mechanics, or kind of living here. So you can actually just forward all of, I suppose, voicemail messages that you get, and it will translate it back to you. And also you can send to it voicemail messages in English, and then also it will translate it into Spanish and also give you a voice note that you can also forward on in Spanish. So it's kind of like a translator there that kind of sits in your ear there. So we're going to be discussing that with him and just getting a general update kind of what's happening in the market as well. Thanks for everyone that's reached out to us. Again, I think a lot of you are doing projects here in Costa Rica. We do a lot of project management on construction, kind of owners reps, just making sure that, things get done properly, even from the design aspect to construction docs not being over-engineered so that we can value engineer your build, to bidding, and then also reviewing your build during the whole process as well, kind of giving inspections. And basically just making sure that things get done right. We also help people kind of invest here as well, and purchase properties as kind of buyer's agents, as well as have some investments available here as well, which a lot of you have actually got involved into. We do actually have some availability in Manuel Antonio and also our newest project in Arenal called Arenal Ridge, which are like luxury 4-bedroom Bali Costa Rican design villas kind of on a ridge line there as well. So it's actually pretty exciting because even on the new stuff that we have coming out, we already have reservations on the books. We have hundreds and thousands of dollars on the books already, which is absolutely nuts for reservations. But it's kind of the magic, I would say, that we bring to a lot of these projects as well. We don't just build them, we're able to rent them very, very easily as well. But you can reach us on info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. And again, investments start, I think, from as little as $10,000. I could be right on there. So again, you can reach out to us, but let's get straight into the podcast. Good afternoon, Jake. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you doing today?
Good, man. You're looking good, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. It's I had a lot of free time on my hand the past month or so when I was back in the States, and it's nice to be back here, but yeah, thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, Jake, the first question I love to ask everyone is, I say volatility in Western markets looks like it's here to stay. That doesn't seem to be changing. What are you seeing happening here in Costa Rica?
Yeah, here, like, people are buying things.
Yep.
And things are for sale. Things that have been sitting for a long time are moving.
Yep.
There's one house in Ojachao that I remember showing to people over a year ago that just sat and sat. I think I've showed it 3 or 4 times, and then finally, like, it sold. And it was nice. It was a 3-bedroom brand new house for $295. Like, wouldn't be able to build it for less.
Yeah.
And so I think things are going to continue to move, and there's more interest.
What do you think about pace? Do you think pace is slowing down a little bit? Is it a buyer's market, seller's market?
I think it's going to continue to pick up.
Yeah.
I think we are shifting more towards a buyer's market. The days where people were asking ridiculous prices is kind of over.
Yep.
Things are coming down to what the actual market value should be. But that volatility that's in the markets now, I think, is really playing to our favor. I have conversations weekly with people who are ready to leave the United States, mainly politically motivated, but also at the same time, they're like, hey, you know what? Like, if I don't do this now, like, when am I going to do this?
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to try living in Costa Rica, and we just try to make that safe for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, we don't talk much politics down here in Costa Rica. So they always say that you can tell how long someone's been here because if they've been here under 6 months, they're talking politics. If they've been over 6 months, they're not. No one cares.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's like the nice thing about being down here.
Yep.
Um, the weather, at least down at the beach, the weather's nice enough on Saturday and Sunday where you're not plopped in front of the TV watching football all day.
Yeah.
And you also just don't care to watch like the news or you deal with politics. I mean, you can read about it if you want, but it's you really got to go out of your way to be involved in it and seek out those conversations as opposed to just like bumping into someone at the coffee shop in the States.
Yeah. I mean, we've got an election here in Costa Rica in like 8 months, and you're not hearing anything even here. Things are still pretty quiet here.
Yeah, like there'll be, in a couple of months, you'll see people driving around with flags and stuff hanging
Yeah.
off of their cars and a big speaker strapped to the top of the
Yep.
sedan driving around in between promoting the DJ at the club in Capos. They'll drop like a political commentary as well, but yeah, it's just not such a big thing here.
I wonder how many presidential candidates we'll have this time. I think it was 23 last time. So we'll see how many we get this time. So,
Yeah.
well, Jake, you recently launched tukanchat.io, okay? And again, very impressive. Congratulations. I mean, but for listeners here, what is it? Where did the idea come from? Who's it aimed at? Like, give us a bit of an idea about it.
Yeah, so Tukan Chat, it's a WhatsApp chatbot that works right within WhatsApp.
Okay.
And what it does is it uh, translates and transcribes and produces voice notes. So think about you ever get a voice note in Spanish that you play it over and over again and like you hold it up to your ear because you think that the next time you'll actually understand what this person is trying to say.
Yep.
Like the idea came from that frustration.
Okay.
And what happened was when I was in the States and James was watching my house, the pipes was like were backing up into the kitchen. Couldn't figure out what it was. I called one of the guys that helped build the house. Turns out a pipe that went across the road was broken and filled with dirt and was that's why everything was backing up. And I was talking to this guy about like paying him, and I paid him a little bit of money for when he came first to look at it, and then for the day, and then he asked me if I could send him a little bit more, and I thought I understood what he wanted, but then he sent me a voice message, and I could tell that he was frustrated. I'm like, what? I don't know. Where's the disconnect here? So I just started looking for something that, like, how do I figure out what this guy is trying to say to me
Yeah.
and actually understand?
Well, I can imagine a lot of expats having that issue, but also just people in. I mean, look, I mean, the US is heavily Hispanic, population as well. So, and there are some people there. I mean, you go to Miami sometimes and it's no habla inglés. Like, I don't speak English. You're like, what? I'm in the States. Like, so,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you can. It's really simple. All you do is just forward a voice note to it, like you would send it along to a friend,
Yep.
and then it replies back with what it heard, and then the translation, and then an audio message in the translation. And once you set it up, it also works in reverse. So if you set it up to that you're sending a Spanish voice note, it'll give you an English translation and an English voice note. But then if you speak to it in English, it'll give you Spanish text and a voice note in Spanish.
Interesting.
So, for there's, don't get me wrong, Costa Rica has a really high literacy rate, but there's still people here, and there's a reason why voice notes are so popular, whether it's quicker literacy. But the fact that you can just then forward this voice note on to the person keeps the voice notes flowing and also might help them understand better as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great idea. As I said, congratulations. I'm sure a lot of people are going to need it. I mean, how do they download it? How much does it cost?
Yeah, so you can go to toucanchat.io and just click the link there. It says get started on WhatsApp.
Yep.
or you can just add the phone number. It is
We'll put it in the description down below as well for people.
yeah, it's 478-778-8226, and you just send it a message and follow the prompts. And the first 10 messages are free, so you can try it out. And then after that, it's only 199 a month or 1999 for the year.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I think for anyone that doesn't speak Spanish, especially down here, but I mean, I suppose it applies for all of Latin America, no? Or any
Yeah,
Spanish.
you can use it. So right now there's 5 languages on it.
Okay.
English, Spanish, French, German, and Portuguese.
Yep.
If there's someone who's really dying for another language to go on there, let me know and I can add it. But like that's what we're starting with.
Yep.
But yeah, it's not just Costa Rica. I mean, it's all over Central America, South America, Mexico, the US, I mean, Europe. If you're involved in those languages, you can utilize this.
Yeah.
And, it's $2 a month. If it saves you from going and copying and pasting to Google Translate and then coming back, it's worth it. Even having like a conversation with someone at a coffee shop, instead of giving them your phone to type in their language and then show it to you, and then you go back, you can just speak to it and then they can speak to it. And now you're communicating with each other.
I think my dad would have found this useful when he lived in the Czech Republic like 20 years ago, because he would go with a Czech English dictionary and then also a piece of paper and a pencil to draw stuff on. And so he had this friend who didn't speak English. He didn't speak Czech. And so they drink beer and basically try and communicate.
Like draw and flip through their book together.
It was Pictionary and dictionary, dude. So yeah.
Yeah. Because, think about you go to, I like the mechanic example. And even if you're standing there, you can still like point at things.
Yep.
And that helps. But, I found like when I wasn't here and like James had my car and something happened with the front axle, and this guy is sending me voice messages. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on or like how bad this is.
Yep.
So I just use this and I'm like, oh, it's just the front axle. Okay, take it to this guy. And then it was fixed for $200 in 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool, man. Let's switch gears into kind of a little bit back towards investment real estate. Where are you seeing the majority of kind of demand and investment being focused at the moment?
Yeah, so I'd like to look at this from the bigger picture. Not so much like individuals, but when you look at big projects going on. So, you have like up in Papagayo, they're building that Waldorf Astoria.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of money getting pumped in up around that area. You look at Capos, Medwell, Antonio with the marina. They're expanding the slips in the marina. They're building a huge condo tower there. I think it's 8 floors.
Yep.
There's like 2 units left, and the starting price of those was 675, 700K. And then you go south and a similar style of project of like a marina project down in Golfito.
Yeah.
Where I think we're finally going to see that project come to fruition there with the group that's involved with that there now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it depends on your risk profile. I mean, we mentioned this in the next podcast we do, we talk about risk investing in land, but yeah, I mean, I think it's just you have to, because a client for me was like, hey, what do you think about the Southern Golfito project? And I was like, dude, it's not easy to get to. Like, unless you're big into fishing, like, don't, I use the word punt, take a punt on that unless you're really going to use it and enjoy it, because that area is not going to develop overnight and hasn't done.
No. And it's like that's the main thing too, is when we have conversations with people, it's well, what is this for?
Yep.
Is this an investment? Is this a property for you? Is this something that you want to be able to exit easily? Or do you just want to be in this area and you're happy if it doesn't cost you any money, or it costs you a little bit of money a year and you get to use it?
Yeah. I mean, I think the goal is important, right? And also exit timeline, because if you want to exit in a short period of time, probably buy in a key area. But I mean, if you're going to be like, no, we're going to hold it for 10 or 20 years, then you can take a little bit of risk, I think.
Yeah, you have to be okay with that
Yep.
and not need the money in a rush situation if you're going to be planning that strategy there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What do you think is going to happen for the rest of 2025 in Costa Rica?
I think we're going to continue to see strong demand here. Like we were saying earlier, there's there hasn't been a drop off in people that I'm meeting with every week
Yep.
that are interested in either investing here or relocating here to some capacity.
Yeah. Do you think, the one thing that I found that a lot of the realtors were saying was, post pandemic, it was easy, man. I mean, stuff was selling like hotcakes. Now they have more deals falling through. Like things are a little bit more difficult, if that makes sense, to get to the finish line. Are you getting that sense as well?
Uh, I don't think so. I look at like the deals that I had fall through,
Yep.
and there was really like outside circumstances, and like one of them, I was really surprised we even got that far along.
Yeah.
One was completely outside circumstance, had nothing to do with any issue here. Um, just a financial situation change, and that happens. And the other one, yeah, like there was a point where we had backed out of it before and then came back, and then
Yeah.
when it fell apart on closing day, it happened, and I wasn't necessarily shocked
Yeah.
that that was the end result of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I just wish sellers sometimes would have all of their due diligence together, man. I mean, I have a client buying a piece of land in Avianas at the moment. It was beautiful. The seller's rep just gave me everything I needed, everything right there and then.
mhm.
I was like, well, this is great. I just need to do a soil study, do topography study, check wells, and we're good to go.
Yeah, yeah. When they give you like the in study right off the bat
Yep.
before you even go look at the property, it's going to be an easy transaction.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, where have you seen people making mistakes in buying real estate in Costa Rica?
The most recent one, I think, would be letting the seller do any sort of the repairs on the property.
Yep.
And that's what ultimately resulted in the one deal that I had fall through was we asked for money off. They were insulted at that and said they would just fix it themselves and just didn't do a good job. And the buyer lost all confidence in their ability to do anything if they couldn't even put the right kind of hardware on a pair of cabinets.
Yeah.
If they can't do that, did they really fix the roof?
I mean, I agree. Sometimes it's better to just be like, look, we're going to deduct it off the final price and you can manage it. I mean, we had a deal in the office very similar to that, where it was like, look, have our, general contractor go over, quote all this stuff, and we'll take it off the price and then we'll do it afterwards. Like, and they can go themselves. They can be there with the general contractor if they want. But like, yeah, I want to make sure that the work is done great. It's done really well, because otherwise, I was always like to say, caveat emptor, buyer beware. As soon as you buy, there's no going back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what areas of Costa Rica? I mean, you mentioned quite a few areas of Costa Rica there. I mean, where do you think that there is area for opportunity of investment in Costa Rica?
So I'm kind of biased, but I like the Capos Manuel Antonio area,
Yep.
specifically Capos
Yep.
for long-term rentals for the boat crews that are going to be here.
Yeah.
They're already here. There's going to be more of them coming. They pay, if they can take care of $1 million plus boat, they can probably take care of your house and not wreck it.
Yep.
And they pay, they're here, and they're going to need a place to stay.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's
I
something
think,
that people just don't think about. Boat crews.
yeah, and they're great. I mean, that's kind of my long-term plan with the house I'm in now
Yep.
is eventually do something else and rent this out to a boat crew, and they're going to take care of it and they're going to pay.
What areas of Costa Rica would you not be investing in, Jake, or you would be double taking and kind of thinking about it a little bit more?
Purely from an investment standpoint, I'd say out of like Ojachal, Uvita,
Yep.
they're just overly saturated with short-term rentals right now.
Yep.
I'd probably stay away from Tamarindo just because of a budget constraint.
Yep.
And yeah, like even Golfito, Puerto Jimenez, those kind of places where, yeah, there's like money going down there, but I don't want to sit on it for 20 years for a maybe when
Yeah.
there's other opportunities for less.
I agree. I agree, man. Okay, my last question for you, Jake, and I think that this one changes every time, but you might have you've pretty got the answer here. But if you inherited $500,000 and you had to invest it in business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
Yeah, so I buy two condos right next door to me
Yep.
in Hacienda Pacifica. There's
Yep.
two for 265 right now. I'd offer them less. There's my 500,
Yep.
and I'd rent them out long term to boat cruise.
Nice. Nice. I think that's yeah. I mean, what do you reckon your return would be on that?
It's like 7-8% a year
But like
at 2K.
net.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it depends how you build it in, but the HOA is $200.
Yep.
You're not paying utilities. So 6-7% a year.
Yeah. It's not bad. And also asset appreciation as well.
Yeah. And they're just going to continue to go up. The thing with this area here is there's not a lot available.
Yeah.
Especially in like a gated condo community. They're just not really building that. If you want something like that, gated communities in the area here, you have the condos where I live in Hacienda Pacifica. You have the other Hacienda Pacifica, which is the units where these are. You have El Salto, but that's a totally different market. And then you'd be going out to Villanueva, to a newer place out there, Villas del Rio.
Yeah.
But that's 15 minutes outside of town. Totally different market.
Wow. Well, Jake, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the podcast, kind of sharing some of your knowledge, and also again with the Tukan chat. Again, anyone that wants to download that, I'll put all the contact details down in the description down below. But we very much appreciate you joining us on the podcast, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Always a good time, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you here probably next week.
Sounds good, bud.
Have a good one. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed that podcast there with Jake, guys. As you can see there, Tukan.io, the WhatsApp integration can just be downloaded there, and I'll put a link in the description down below. But very interesting, especially for you expats out there that potentially might have, some, I would say, barriers to speaking Spanish here. And just the colloquial use of Spanish here as well can be very, very different, especially when it comes to technical terms here. Even sometimes I actually forget what the word is in English, and in Spanish, it's basically a lot easier sometimes. But anyway, Jake's contact details are there, as well as the Tukan.io app. Again, it's free for the first 5 messages, so you can just go nuts on it and just really see it. I personally haven't used it just because typically I think my Spanish is good enough to kind of get by, or my Spanglish. So, but anyway, but remember, guys, thank you very much for everyone that's enjoying this podcast. That's also subscribing as well. We have a new episode come out every single week and really cover a wide variety of themes. And I mean, I think if you have anyone out there that you think would be a good guest to come on here and just chat with us, or a topic that you would like to let us know about, again, just email us info@investingcostarica.com, info@investingcostarica.com, and all the contact details are in the description down below. But anyway, thanks very much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next podcast. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.